Across America, blacks and other people of color still face embedded racism and second-class treatment. Political leaders have not brought change. They have failed to curb excessive policing and incarceration rates or create economic opportunities and hope people can believe in. From the creation of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, which were designed to ensure equality for the black race, the civil rights movement to end racial segregation and discrimination against African Americans, to the Black Lives Matter movement, there is still no support for the black race, even to this day. Discrimination still exists. Life for blacks and all people of color is not getting any better. Police shoot and kill blacks almost twice as frequently as any other racial group. Black people were about 4 times as likely to die in custody or while being arrested than whites. There needs to be a change in this discriminatory behavior. We need to focus on changing these continued police and political actions that hinder and destroy multiple races within America, especially the black race. If this country is going to promote equality, they should stand by it.
Did you know African Americans comprise only 13% of the U.S. population and 14% of the monthly drug users, but 37% are arrested for drug-related offenses? In 2010, the U.S. Sentencing Commission reported that African Americans received 10% longer sentences than whites through the federal court system for the same crimes. African Americans constitute nearly 1 million of the total 2.3 million people incarcerated. California, America's most populous state, has the highest total with 74 fatalities in the year of 2015. 32% of black people were killed by police in 2015 that were unarmed, and 25% of Hispanic and Latino people in comparison to 15% of white people killed. It's not just African Americans that encounter police brutality, it is the minority population of the United States as a whole, including Hispanics.
It is important to separate fact from fiction when it comes to racism and the plight of African American people in the history of this place we call the United States. Black Americans of African descent lived generation after generation as slaves from 1619 to 1865. And even after the bloody Civil War that cost millions of lives to abolish slavery, it did not end there for African Americans. As the years after the Civil War passed, one law after another was drafted incorporating direct prejudice against blacks. One state would pass a racism-inspired law, then another would follow, and another one would slime out another law based purely on racism. The last state, time after time, would be Oklahoma. These were known as Jim Crow laws, and even though they were struck down one by the Supreme Court, racism is still apparent in the ways of hiring, housing, schooling, and especially policing.
Discrimination against blacks has been a problem and is obviously still a problem. It's evident through events like the tragic Trayvon Martin shooting. His shooter, George Zimmerman, called 911 to report a suspicious act in the community. He was instructed not to approach Trayvon. He did anyway and ended up fatally shooting and killing the 17-year-old Trayvon Martin. This event sparked a big controversy nationwide, which led to many big civil rights leaders like Reverend Al Sharpton coming to defend Trayvon in hope of justice. Another tragedy through discrimination was evident with the shooting of Michael Brown, an unarmed black teenager. Brown was shot and killed on August 9, 2014 by Darren Wilson, a white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri, which is a suburb of St. Louis. The shooting served as a catalyst for many protests and riots, which included many iconic figures of the nation today.
Let's say they listen to the cops and get in the car. Look what happened to Freddie Gray.
Yeah, and what if they make it all the way to the station? You remember Sandra Bland?
And let's say they do make it to trial. You see where that gets us? Don't you get it, Bo? The system is rigged against us.
Maybe it is, Dre. But I don't want to feel like my kids are living in a world that is so flawed that they can't have any hope.
Oh, so you want to talk about hope, Bo? Obama ran on hope. Remember when he got elected? And we felt like maybe, just maybe, we got out of that bad place and made it to a good place. That the whole country was really ready to turn the corner. You remember that amazing feeling we had during the inauguration? I was sitting right next to you. And we were so proud. And we saw him get out of that limo and walk alongside of it and wave to that crowd. Tell me you weren't terrified when you saw that. Tell me you weren't worried that someone was going to snatch that hope away from us like they always do. That is the real world, Bo. And our children need to know that that's the world that they live in. Let's finish watching. Let's see what they're gonna say next.